Hi, third grade. Today we're going to finish this little book, Pug Pals. Yay for Vaycay. Chapter 7. The next day, Sunny and Rosie set the juiciest peach they could find just next to the groundhog's hole, and they waited. It took only a few minutes before they heard scratching and sniffing sounds. As Clover emerged from the hole, Sunny and Rosie leapt on top of him. "Got you, thief!" Sunny shouted. "This is downright rude. I'm not a thief," Clover said, trying to squirm out from their hold. "Let's talk like civilized groundhogs." Sunny and Rosie released him, and Clover sat up, brushed himself off. "Now, what's all this nonsense?" "You ate half of Grandma's vegetables and fruit," Sunny said. "I did," Clover said, "and they were delicious." "That's stealing," Rosie shouted. Clover shook his head. "She plants food, and I eat food." "What's that food for?" Rosie scratched her ear. "When you put it that way, it does sound okay." Sunny sighed. "No, Clover. You ate Grandma's food without asking permission first. That's stealing. Not only that, but she thinks we did it. You got us into trouble." Clover's nose twitched. He burst into loud sobs. "I never thought of it that way. Oh dear." Clover covered his face with his paws. "I am the thief. I'm so sorry. How will you ever forgive me?" Rosie burst into tears too and hugged Clover. "You're a good groundhog," she cried. "You didn't know. It's okay. We forgive you." Sunny waited for Rosie and Clover to finish crying. "Clover, we still want to be your friends, and we're not mad at you, but you can't keep stealing our grandma's food." "I understand," said Clover. "I'll stick to nearby woods like before, and I'll help you prove your innocence. I have an idea." Chapter 6. The next day, Sunny and Rosie waited eagerly for Grandma to put on her gardening hat and gloves. "No, no," Grandma said to them as she opened the door. "You can't go outside with me. Don't want another mess now, do we?" Sunny and Rosie sat down and watched through the glass door as Grandma walked through her garden. "Do you see him?" Rosie asked. "Shh," Sunny said, "not yet." When Grandma turned to weed her cucumbers, Clover finally popped out from his hole. He waddled over to the archway. This was Sunny and Rosie's signal. They barked their loudest barks and pawed at the door. Grandma looked up and shushed them, but Sunny and Rosie didn't stop until Grandma turned to see what they were barking at. There was Clover, climbing the archway. Grandma shrieked and ran towards him. Clover dangled in midair for a moment and then leapt into a pot of Grandma's prize begonias. Those are flowers. Clover winked at Sunny and Rosie. He sped down the vegetable rows. He snapped up bites of everything he passed. Just before Grandma could catch him, he made his getaway by diving back into his hole. "Such good little pups," Grandma patted Sunny and Rosie on their heads. "Thank you for alerting me to that groundhog. I'm sorry I thought you were the ones eating my garden. Looks like you earned your barbecue feast after all. That night, Grandma and Grandpa grilled beef, hot dogs, zucchini, squashes, and green beans outside. Sonny and Rosie ate so much their bellies grew round. Best watchdogs ever, Grandpa praised them. For the rest of the week, Sonny and Rosie enjoyed their outside time with Grandma as she tended to her gardens. On the pug's last day, Sonny and Rosie had a pause on crime marathon. It was interrupted by a surprise guest. Sonny, Rosie, I missed you so much. Their human rushed in to greet them. Sonny and Rosie jumped up and licked their human's face. The pugs had been having such a good time, they had forgotten when she was coming back. Grandma and Grandpa hugged Sonny and Rosie goodbye. Their humans struggled to put on their harnesses. They were a little snug after a week of delicious snacks. The pugs waddled to the front yard, and their human grunted as she lifted them into their seats. After their human started the car, Sonny and Rosie waved out the window to Grandma and Grandpa. On the back of the car it said, I love my dogs. I pause for pups and Pugmobile. And that is the end of Pugs for Pals. Thought it would be fun. But now we're going to move on to one I know you guys will like. Another one of my weirder school. Mr. Burke is Berserk by Dan Gutman. Mr. Burke cuts grass and trims the bushes and does the landscaping around elementary school. He wants to have a corn maze on the baseball diamond and drag races with his riding lawnmower. What's up with the crop circles in the soccer field? And what did he bury under the monkey bars? Chapter 1. The Big Race. My name is AJ and I hate ice cream. Actually, that's not true. I love ice cream. In fact, it's one of my favorite things in the world. I was just pulling your leg there. No, I wasn't doing that either. If I was pulling your leg, I would actually be taking your leg and pulling on it. Why would anybody want to pull a leg? That's a weird thing to do. Down at the bottom. What are you looking down here for? The story is up there. Speaking of weird things, last week the weirdest thing in the history of the world happened. When I got to school, our groundskeeper, Mr. Burke, was sitting out on the playground on a riding lawnmower. Well, that's not the weird part, because Mr. Burke sits on his riding lawnmower all the time. The weird part was that right next to him was our principal, Mr. Klutz. He was sitting on another lawnmower. All the kids gathered around to see what was going on. I went over to my friends, Ryan, Michael, Neil, and Alexia. What's going on? I asked. Mr. Klutz and Mr. Burke are going to have a lawnmower race, said Michael, who never ties his shoes. The first one to reach the monkey bars wins, says Ryan, who will eat anything, even stuff that isn't food. Lawnmower races rock, said Alexia, who is a girl but is cool anyways. The loser has to pay the winner $1, said Neil, who we called a nude kid even though he wears clothes. Mr. Klutz and Mr. Burke revved the motors of their lawnmowers and glared at each other. Get ready to lose, partner, shouted Mr. Burke. I reckon I'm a gonna give you a whooping you'll never forget. He talks funny. He had a toothpick in his mouth, too. What's up with that? Kiss my grass, yelled Mr. Klutz. You're going down, Mr. Burke. That's when Andrea Young, this annoying girl with curly brown hair, came over. She was with her equally annoying crybaby friend, Emily. Hi, Arlo, said Andrea. She calls me by my real name because she knows I don't like it. I didn't say hello to Andrea because I knew the guys would start teasing me and saying I was in love with her. They shouldn't have dangerous races and gamble on school property, Andrea told us. It sets a bad example for children. I agree, said Emily, who agrees with everything Andrea says. Can you possibly be more boring? Asked Alexia. Andrea stuck her tongue out at Alexia. Alexia stuck her tongue at Andrea. Emily stuck out her tongue at Alexia. Alexia stuck her tongue out at Emily. Whatever somebody says something mean to you, always stick out your tongue at them. That's the first rule of being a kid. I'm not boring, Andrea said. I just don't like violence. What do you have against violins? I asked her. Everybody laughed, even though I didn't say anything funny. No violins, Arlo, Andrea said, rolling her eyes. Violence. Oh, why can't a truckload of violins fall on Andrea's head? Our gym teacher, Miss Small, came running in front of the lawnmowers. She was carrying a big flag. On your mark, she yelled. Get set. Go. She waved the flag. Mr. Klutz and Mr. Burke took off. Ha ha. I made you look down here. Chapter 2. The Seesaw Battle. The lawnmower race was hilarious because lawnmowers go really slow. I mean, I can walk faster than those things. It was like watching a turtle race. But it was still exciting and everybody was yelling and screaming. Put the pedal to the metal, Mr. Klutz. You can beat him, Mr. Burke. We all walked alongside the lawnmower so we could see who was winning. First, Mr. Klutz took the lead. Then Mr. Burke took the lead. Then Mr. Klutz was ahead. Then Mr. Burke was ahead. This is a real seesaw battle, shouted Ryan. Are they going to fight on the seesaws? I asked. That would be cool. After about 1,100,000 minutes, the lawnmowers reached the other end of the playground. Mr. Burke jumped off and touched the monkey bars first. Yee-haw, he shouted. I'm a grinning like a weasel in a hen house. Mr. Klutz gave Mr. Burke $1. All the excitement was over, and we had to go into school to start the day. Bummer in the summer. Mr. Burke is weird, I said as we walked into class. Remember the time he grew a corn maze in the soccer field? Asked Neil. Remember the time he mowed big circles in the grass and told us they were made by UFOs, said Michael. Maybe Mr. Burke really isn't a groundskeeper at all, I said. Maybe he kidnapped a real groundskeeper, locked him in an equipment shed where he keeps the lawnmowers. Stuff like that happens all the time, you know. Stop trying to scare Emily, said Andrea. I'm scared, said Emily. Mr. Burke probably escaped from a loony bin, said Ryan. Yeah, I said. He probably snatches kids during recess and buries them under the monkey bars. We've got to do something, Emily shouted. Then she started freaking out and went running down the hallway. Jeez, get a grip. That girl will fall for anything. Chapter 3, The T Word. The rest of us walked to class with our teacher, Mr. Granite, who was from another planet. After we put our backpacks into our cubbies and pledged allegiance, it was time for math. but you'll never believe who poked his head in the door at that moment. Nobody. Poking your head into a door would hurt, but you never believe who poked his head into the doorway. It was Mr. Klutz. To what do we owe the pleasure of your company? Asked Mr. Granite. That's grown-up talk for what are you doing here? Remember when I went to the principal camp last year, he said. Well, I have to go again. Just wanted to say goodbye. Bye, we all said. Principal camp sounds cool. I'll bet the principal sit around a campfire and roast marshmallows. Maybe I'll be a principal when I grow up so I can go to camp and eat toasted marshmallows. After Mr. Klutz left, Mr. Granite went to the front of the room. It's time for math, he said. Turn to page 23 in your... He didn't get the chance to finish his sentence because at that moment, an announcement came over the loudspeaker. All classes, please report to the all-purpose room immediately. Not again, groaned Mr. Granite. Yay, no math, I yelled. We had to walk 1,100,000 miles to the all-purpose room. Along the way, we saw our art teacher, Miss Hannah, and our music teacher, Mr. Loring. They were each pulling a rolling suitcase. Why did you bring suitcases to school? Ryan asked them. We take them with us wherever we go because you never know when you're going to get fired. We like to be ready, added Mr. Loring. Miss Hannah and Mr. Loring are weird. In the all-purpose room, our class got to sit in the front row, but I had to sit next to annoying Andrea. Ugh, disgusting. I made sure not to let my elbow touch her elbow on the armrest so I wouldn't catch her girl germs. The vice principal, Miss Jaffe, was on the stage. She held up her hand and made a peace sign, which means shut up. I'll be in charge while Mr. Klutz is gone, she told us. We have a special guest who would like to speak with us today. How about a big round of applause for Mr. Hubble, Mayor Hubble? We all clapped our hands in circles. Mayor Hubble came down the aisle with 2 Secret Service agents behind him. He was smiling, passing out buttons that said, "Re-elect Mayor Hubble," and shaking hands with everybody. It would be cool to be mayor. He's like the king of the town. My friend Billy, who lives around the corner, told me that Mayor Hubble has a limo and a big throne at City Hall. Gary carries the mayor around in a chair, and girls in bikinis feed him grapes. Mayor Hubble climbed up on the stage. I have bad news, he announced. The town is broke. The government has cut off all our money, and we still have to balance the budget. I didn't know what he was talking about. Does that mean you're going to raise taxes? Asked Miss Jaffe. Taxes? Mayor Hubble suddenly groaned, grabbed his chest, and dropped to his knees. It looked like he was going to die. One of his Secret Service agents rushed over to help the mayor. The other one leaned over to talk to Miss Jaffe. Never say the T word in front of the mayor, he said. Mayor Hubble leaned into the microphone. I will not raise taxes, he shouted. I'm going to lower taxes. If we don't have enough money, asked Miss Jaffe, shouldn't you just raise the T word? Read my lips, Mayor Hubble shouted at her. No new taxes. Why do we need to read your lips, I asked. You're talking. That's just an expression, Arlo, Andrea told me, rolling her eyes. I don't understand, said Miss Jaffe. How can we get the money to balance the budget if you don't raise the T word? I have an idea, said Miss Rupi, our media specialist. We can have a car wash. We can raise money, balance the budget, and have fun all at the same time. Yay, everybody shouted excitedly. No, said Mayor Hubble. How about a bake sale? Asked Miss Laney, our speech teacher. People love to buy cookies and cakes. No, said the mayor. A raffle, suggested our reading specialist, Mr. Mackey. No, said the mayor. Why not just close down the school? I suggested. That would save money. Then we could stay home and play video games all day. All the kids cheered at my genius idea. No, there's only one way to balance the budget. I can tell you with just 3 little words. So we're going to stop right here, and we're going to start back up for the next time on Chapter 4, 3 Little Letters.